Hello and welcome to this video that shows you how to set up a Turnitin assignment. Now the difference between what we've seen previously on how to do an assignment, the Turnitin one actually has a plagiarism checker. So let's walk through. It's a little more complicated than just a regular assignment. So first thing I'm going to do is turn on settings, or turn on editing rather. And I'm going to add an activity or a resource. Again, I've got it right here, but if we go to all, we can find it. And it's called Turnitin Assignment 2. I don't know why it's 2. Maybe that's because it's the sequel, it's the revenge, this time it's personal. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It's the one we're going to use. Okay, and then we're going to give this a name. So we'll call this Writing Project. Well, I can spell Project 1 Final Draft. And then this is where you would leave, information about what the writing project, for the students. And whatever information you put here that helps explain what the assignment is, make sure that you would click on the display this so this information will show up. Okay. Moving along here, submission type, any submission type. I would change this to file upload because again, we don't want them just typing in the, if you do it as a text submission or any submission type, then they can just go into Turnitin and try to type it out. But we really want them to, since this is like for the final, we use Turnitin for like the big final papers, the final drafts. They should really be writing that on a different like word processor, like Word. Okay. As far as this information, just leave this alone. As far as how you want to have the grades displayed, that's really completely up to you. What I want to focus on is under grade. Again, I set everything as a default of 100. Now, for example, for writing project 1, okay, so they do like a first draft, they maybe do peer reviews, whatever. Those are going to be part of writing project 1, but they're going to be smaller amounts. So like if they just do a first draft and they turn it in, I would make that like worth 10 points. But the final version that they're going to do is worth 100 points. So I leave that at 100. And then again, I've already set up my grade book. So I can say, okay, this is going to go under writing project 1, okay? Again, grade to pass, that's up to you. Now, you can see where it says, how many parts do you want to have this in? I always just do one part, and it just automatically calls this part 1, and that can sometimes confuse the students. So I just copy this part up here, and I just paste it down there so it doesn't confuse them. Start date is really kind of when they have access to do it. The due date, again, that is when you actually have it be due. So let's change that to the 25th of August. And again, this would be military time. So let's say we want to do it at the very end of the night. Okay. And I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea what post date means. I'm just going to leave it alone. Okay. And again, I use the final drafts are always worth 100 points. A few other things that we need to show you. Under the simulator, yeah, anyway, you know what I'm saying. The next thing is, if you do not allow late papers, which I do not, you want to make sure that it says allow submissions after the due date. So there's the due date right there. I don't allow late submissions, so the answer is no, I'm not going to allow them to do that. Okay. But if you do, then you can always just change that to yes. So that's up to you. Anyway, when they submit it, what ends up happening is that Turnitin takes their paper and it stores it to this standard repository, where then it can be used to check against other papers. Most of the time, you should have this yes on. Now, there are some instructors that use Turnitin for the plagiarism checker, but they don't want it to be saved, that paper that's submitted to be saved, to be checked on again, because then it would show like the final draft to be mainly plagiarized. So if you're going to do it for just a rough draft, you could just put it as not into the repository. But for the most part, you want to keep that in there because the more stuff we can have in there, great. Okay. Again, you can choose your settings here. You should absolutely check it against stored students' papers because because students do pass papers between them. Check against the internet, whatever. Exclude bibliography and quoted material. This is a little problematic because sometimes it has a hard time picking those up. So that's up to you. Okay. And then you can kind of use, that kind of things. Under grade mark options, okay, we're going to skip rubric for just a second, but here's something that I would strongly encourage you to do is, well, I'm not strongly encouraging, I'm just telling you, just do this. Turn this on to yes, okay? And because it has a grammar checker. So when you go to grade it, I'm going to go ahead and have it check for spelling, grammar, usage, mechanics, and style. So when they've submitted it, there's a little button when I'm going to grade it that shows me, hey, guess what? These are the spelling issues. Now I can look to see if it's, these are suggestions again, because it's not perfect, but it'll at least give me a general idea of, how many spelling issues they have or grammar issues they have. And that's going to be part of my rubric. So I don't have to necessarily go through the whole paper and find all the spelling and grammar issues. I can look and it'll just show me a lot of them and I can get a general sense so I'll know how to be able to grade it. So that's very helpful. Under the rubric, we're not going to spend time, I'm not going to show you how to create a rubric in this video. It's similar to what we did in the video that shows how to create a rubric for an assignment, but you can launch a Rubric Manager. And now, in this particular case, I've got a ton of rubrics that I just have from over the years. Why are you going down there? Okay, so I just have a ton of rubrics that I've used. So once I've created a rubric, I can use it over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, and it shows me when I revised it for, whatever. And so I can just pull it up there and say, this is the one that I'm going to use. Okay, but again, this video does not necessarily show you how to do the rubric. I will tell you that once you've created a rubric, one thing that's kind of cool is if you look at this button over here, you can export it and it'll export it as a file. Okay, so it's a file down there. And then let's say that I use a rubric that another instructor wants to use. I can send them this file and then they would open up their Rubric Manager and then they would hit import, okay, and they would just drag and drop that file that you sent them. And so that way it's like as long as someone has one created, or if you have one that's standard for your department, someone just has to set it, you can save that rubric and then send it off, and it's very helpful. So anyway, that is the basic trick. So we'll go ahead and just save and return to course, and it'll show us, there it is, and you see the little fancy little icon here. So that is a Turnitin project. So that is how you set up a Turnitin project. All right, there you go.